So hello and welcome to the channel. Welcome to another Assetto Corsa Competizione video. But as you can see, we're here, we're just flying over Niagara Falls. And we're just going to be on our way to Watkins Glen. But I thought I would start off here at Niagara, which is about a 35-minute flight. I think we're west, never eat shredded. Yeah, we're just west of Watkins Glen. I thought I'd visit Niagara Falls first before departing to our destination of Watkins Glen. Now I'm not bore you with the full flight, but I thought I would just start out here and just have a little discussion on the topic regarding setups. We're going to be doing the Porsche, I forget which Porsche it is, 991 GT3. It's not the new cup car, but I thought I would do setups in the Porsche for Watkins Glen, Indianapolis and Monza. Now, a number of things that got brought up with my last video in the BMW M4. I think a lot of people are of the opinion that when you download one of these setups, whether it's from Coach Dave, whether it's one of my setups, or whether it's from any of the other plethora of sites that are available to download car setups from, I think people think they are instantly going to be setting those kind of lap times. And I think you've got to be realistic when you download a setup, in the fact that just because you're running the same setup doesn't instantly mean that you're going to be setting the same lap times. There is still a huge amount of skill involved in setting a very fast lap. Now, when I come to do my setups, I'm generally wanting to provide a stable platform to consistently hit a good lap time. Whether Coach Dave or other people do setups with that in mind, I've really got no idea. But when I'm doing a setup, that's my intention, to provide the user with a setup that's going to allow them to hit consistent lap times. There is still a massive element of learning the circuit, and even I would suggest trying to hit a good lap time with the aggressive setup first, and then kind of understanding what my setup is going to give you as a driver. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up. On the back of these setups is another element that I wanted to discuss, and that was another member of the community. I think it's Frank Lehman or Lemon or Lemon. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his surname, but he's in the process of creating a website. I'll not put him under too much pressure because I know it's quite a way off just yet, but he's wanting to create a website where people can go and see these setups with the details very clearly on how to set your car up. But this is totally his own venture. It's nothing to do with me, but he's asked me if he could use some of my setups, which I'm quite happy for him to do. But I thought I would mention it. There's probably going to be a bit of a link somewhere showing his proposed outline for the website and how it's going to kind of help other users to get the best from accessing a setup online, and just making it a little bit easier to navigate through what needs to be changed where. Generally, if I'm looking at a setup myself, the whole idea was you just watch it on your phone and take a couple of screenshots, and that'll get you really to where you need to be. You can see all the details. I'm not even sure if I'm going in the right direction really with this flight. It looks like I'm kind of heading out to sea, looking at the data here. I think I should be kind of a long way off course, I think. So I think I'll do a bit of a U-turn here in this jet that I've kindly borrowed. I think my heading should be more inland, kind of going in the wrong direction here. But it's a fantastic game, Flight Simulator, but sometimes fairly hard to follow flight plan wise. Yeah, I mean, look at all this stuff in here. It's there's a lot to go wrong, I think, given in my hands. We can see my flight path that should be heading down here. So kind of back on target. Not sure where that was heading. So I was heading in the right direction, 100 miles to where I'm trying to get to. So I'm certainly not going to bore you with that. I'll when we get closer to Watkins Glen, I'll bring you back on board. So quite a long way to go yet. But I thought I would just do a flight. Sometimes better to have a bit of scenery. Go down a little bit lower, I think. Obviously we're moving into the zone where this up. We're kind of going a little bit too fast for this plane. Overspeed. So trying to get there too quickly. But I will just lower the flaps, I think. Just bring my altitude down a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of clear up that when I'm doing a setup, it is a lot comes down to the driver skill, and just learning the circuit. I can't emphasize more how much you need to spend time at these circuits to actually get the best from the setups, and just to make use of the aggressive setups as well. Don't instantly think downloading a setup is going to be the be all and end all of where your lap time, where you're struggling. Predominantly, I think with the aggressive setup, you can get within maybe a second of the fastest lap times just by spending maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at the circuit, just learning the circuit. A lot of it, a lot of the final setup tweaks are generally what going to help you find like that last second or that last half a second. I'll put some footage on the screen actually. I hope I've recorded from a race I did at the weekend with some very good drivers, some BOA drivers. I think there was a VSR driver there as well, and I was clearly in the lead. I could clearly hit very similar lap times. We were all hitting very similar lap times at Kyalami, and if I was maintaining that lead, I think I was just trying to push for the fastest lap. I think I'd lost the fastest lap within a couple of laps, and every lap I seemed to be getting a better and better lap, but just ruining the lap somewhere around each lap. I kept just losing lap time in certain areas, and having not been to Kyalami for, I think it was 1.7.9 was my last setup, or 1.7.10. I was just pushing the car a little bit too much and just ran wide and ended up just taking a little off. But that is generally what wins races, is just being consistent in your lap times. It doesn't matter if you haven't got the fastest lap time. If another driver's still within, still hitting a very similar lap time, he's going to really struggle to get past you if you're hitting the same lap times. He's just really trying to force an error, and I think invariably that's what happened. But join me shortly where I'll be arriving at Watkins Glen. I'll do a little bit of a map preview as well as to where Watkins is, and we'll have a look at the map sort of. I'll fly around each circuit as we do them in this session, not trying to make it too long, but just trying to show you what Flight Simulator also has to offer. It's a fantastic game if you just enjoy visiting areas of the world that you've never been before, finding out where circuits are, and just checking out the world really. So join me shortly as we arrive at Watkins Glen. So just having a quick tour then around the cabin. Just really good animation, isn't it? Just looking out the window, all the flight details, control panels. But you can't just sort of lean round and have a look down the cabin. But yeah, loads and loads of stuff to mess around with in there. I'm just looking at all the, I guess you've got an American football pitch, big stadium. Got no idea whose that stadium is. The baseball ground in the background as well. The massive highways or freeways that they have. All running very parallel. I'm never sure whether the undulation in the road's pretty much realistic, but again, as we come across another big training venue, looks like track and field and a couple of baseball fields. Maybe a elementary school or something like that. I'm not sure what this complex is, just at the back there. Looks a bit more like a prison or something. But coming up here on a little wind farm, field of wind turbines. I spent a lot of the past month doing training towards working on these in the future, so hopefully 2023 I'll be doing a lot of work on the wind turbines around the world. Maybe some offshore stuff, wind turbines, but I really would like to travel a little bit, see some of these beautiful sites. They're always in really nice areas, the wind turbines, really picturesque landscapes and stuff, so I can only imagine it'll be hard work, but hopefully it's going to be quite rewarding. But yeah, just arriving, you can see Watkins Glen in the distance. Just a little bit out of Watkins Glen now, just arriving. Been a pretty uneventful flight, but just coming over the circuit itself. A beautiful part of the world. I'll just kind of slow things down a little bit. But it's set out in the middle of nowhere, really. I'm sure I've heard somewhere it was called upstate New York, so I'm guessing I'm not sure how far north of New York we are, but just looking at the circuit, you can see down through turn 1, up through the steep rise, just approaching the bus stop section. And then the twisty back part of the circuit. An amazing section of the circuit. Definitely an area that a lot of people seem to struggle with as well. Especially coming up this right-hander. It's just definitely an area that you really need to be on top of your setup. Just not running very much throttle at the minute, just trying to navigate the circuit here slowly. And the last few sections of the circuit, most of it I would put down to having good downforce, good aero work, not wanting to lose too much rear wing. Best get some power back in the engine before we stall it. But it's a good circuit to set a car up on, I think, because it does lend itself to a lot of areas of the setup. There's certainly a good portion of needing downforce, and then also needing, let's get the wheels out here. I'm just going to land at this airport, although they don't know it yet. I'm not particularly told them, which you generally would do. I think you have to go on the comms here. Nearest airport, it's NK 24. Just asking them to land. That looks like a pretty gnarly landing, doesn't it? It's just like someone's back garden. There's no way I'm going to land on that. I think I'd be in the hedges. Just too short a landing. Maybe see this other runway just over here. We've got the village of Watkins Glen, or the city. Town, I wouldn't know how busy it is. Put the landing gear back up, I think. Let's just head over. Put the flaps back up. See how big this airport is, Eagle Ridge. I could probably do with a bit of height actually as well. Eagle Ridge sounds like a small airport as well. Oh, it looks a little bit bigger. Let's see if we can land at Eagle Ridge. Oh well. I think I'm just going to have to land there because I can't seem to cancel. Eagle Ridge. Ooh. Just try and turn this back round. I'm not the best at this game by any means. Let's slow it down. Get the landing gear out, flaps down. Let's slow that airspeed. I think I'm gonna need a bigger runway. Ooh. I hate it when you hit that. I don't think I meant to go this way. That's the wings gone. Ah, what a landing. Just that sound of peace. Anyway, let's get back to these setups. Enough flight simulator fun. So here we are then at Watkins Glen in the Porsche 991. So braking at the 200 yard board down into turn 1. A very tricky car to get the best out of this car. I really do think you need to spend quite a bit of time behind the wheel in the Porsche. I don't know whether it's a car that suits my driving style or not, but I just don't feel like I'm one with the car at all. So we're using traction control 8, braking just at the 300 yard board, trying to mount this curve full in the face, sticking right on the left hand side as we come through the bus stop, down through the right hander. Always very hard to get that nose just to pull in. Braking at this little path on the right hand side, it's like a manhole cover or something. Just trying to keep that front end in. I do think it understeers a little bit, but we're very close I think to getting into the 144s. But I think a lot of the cars are. It really is just spending time in the car, trying to find the best of the car. You can see in the car control at the top right corner, very aggressive lap to try and get the most out of this car at Watkins Glen, but it feels pretty good. But again, pure skill is what's going to get you to those good lap times. Don't just imagine you're going to jump in this car and be smashing the 145s, 144s. I think I'd be quite content in the 146s if you were just starting out in the Porsche. You can see there the force feedback bouncing away in the red. Maybe just need to tame that down a little bit. But across the line with the 145-2, you can see they're hitting all the best sectors in that short session. I'm sure I did run another session before this and just came back in to do the last 7 minutes. Looking over the setup then, traction control 8, certainly not an issue. Obviously adjust the brake balance to suit you. You might want a more forward balance, you might want a more rearward balance, but it's very personal to yourself. So that's the Porsche at Watkins Glen. So over we go to Indianapolis, the motor speedway circuit. Very easy to see actually here in Flight Simulator. Sometimes it's very hard to actually see the circuit layouts, but it's very well laid out. So just taking a dive into the circuit, and this little icon sort of amphibious aircraft. It looks like it's got like a little bit of a golf course alongside the circuit, but it's probably a massive sport. Indianapolis, I'm sure that's where they have the IndyCar and everything. It's a very well-known circuit, huge spectator sport. I've never really seen the joy of Indianapolis IndyCar racing, but very much a skill. Just you're almost glancing that post there. We're kind of at different stages on the circuit here. I do think we come together at some point, but obviously I think the car's much quicker than this little light aircraft around the circuit. So I've kind of just tried to stagger it a little bit. But yeah, a really tough circuit to be honest. Trying to get the car hooked up and trying to just spend time here to get the lap time. Just coming under the bridge, obviously you can't really go under it in the aircraft, but almost looks like a row of cardboard boxes across the track with the way they've done it here in the game. But it is very much a little bridge across the circuit. Very twisty, very hard to get the power down in areas. Not particularly a circuit I've spent a lot of time at all. So just trying to break into those 146s here in the Porsche. But really enjoying flying the icon around the circuit, coming back down the start-finish straight, and just looking over to your right hand side is a little section of water you can see there. as we finish out this lap in the Porsche, we're just going to come back on board into the aircraft. I'm just going to kill the engine here, and we're just going to, I just wanted to see if I could put it down in this little section of water which is just alongside the golf course. So just totally kill the engines. We're just gliding in here. A very peaceful, serene moment within the game. So just trying to gauge it. Don't want to overshoot it too much, kill the engine too soon. Probably have just spun myself round here, just dropping a wingtip in. But not too bad a landing, I didn't think. Totally beach it just on the grass here. Can't really take off again. Just didn't have the wheels up for the water landing. But yeah, there you go for Indianapolis. Just looking over the setup then. Obviously pause it where you can. I think I dropped a TC9 there. It seems very hard to get the traction control, the rear end to grip. Obviously you can see we're wearing a little bit more on the inside tyres, which is expected. And just in general, trying to stiffen up that rear end, get the front to turn in a little bit more. All about front end grip, I think. Just trying to get the front end to bite. And that's Indianapolis. So obviously we'll jump on board for the lap. Obviously you can see there's a heck of a lot of other cars in this session. Braking at the 400 board all the way down to first gear, really hugging this inside curb. And I think I try and just get a wheel over the inside of that curb just to sort of pull me through the corner. Braking at the last board on the right hand side there, dropping down to second, getting on the power nice and early and let it run wide. Absolutely full flat from the throttle through this next corner, bringing over to the right hand side a little bit, braking down into second gear, trying to get on the power. It's just snaking away the rear end, very gentle just to bring the car over to the right hand side, power down on the exit. You can see it's a very much a clockwise circuit, the left hand side tyres on the car really getting warmed up. Braking at that last board, or the second to last board on the right hand side there, down to second gear, hold second gear through there, and just holding second gear, just a bit of a squeeze and a brake, squeeze and brake. Running all this inside curve, trying to cut the corner as best you can without getting a track penalty. And then I just try and look to the fence here, just before the 300-yard board, the first fence post. I just brake at that point there, all the way down to first. I think sometimes really just try and hold second gear through this apex, and then just on the power, nasty bump, and then accelerating for the line, all the way turning right. And you can see the pillar there that we just missed in the microlight, and across the line. And that's Indianapolis. So as you can see, we're heading to our next location. I thought I'd just come all the way out here, just to zoom right the way in. Just north of Milan, we've got the beautiful region of Monza. And you can see quite easily from above, it sits very much in a woodland area, or yeah, I'd probably say woodland area. I'm not sure how big the grounds actually are. Obviously there was the old circuit, which is a massive long test track at some stage. I'm sure Top Gear were there at some point testing the Bugatti Veyron, trying to max it out over I think 250 miles per hour or something like that. But yeah, it's coming down to the start-finish straight. I'm gonna probably start the replay for the video a little bit further on here, because the car around this circuit just absolutely wastes this icon aircraft. It's just absolutely flat out in the car. So to be able to keep up with the plane, I've ended up starting the car a lot further back, really. Obviously you can see coming through the little chicane at the start of the lap, down towards why can't I never remember the name of these corners? It's 1 and 2. That's it. The Lesmos 1 and 2. Obviously, we go through the little chicane again. Never remember what that is. Well, very hard to get through in the Porsche. I really have struggled setting this car up, or finding, or sort of gelling with the car, to be honest. It's just, I guess it just doesn't match my driving style. You kind of have to adapt to how the Porsche drives. It's a very hard car to set up, or infamously hard to set up. I think this is Ascari that we're approaching now as we come under the bridge. We're going to kind of catch up with the Microlight as we come down this long back straight. I'm sure if we were looking up we'd be able to see him just weaving around, trying to get his line ready to come into this last corner. Never remember this one either. A very well known corner. But a tricky corner as well in the Porsche. Just seems to want to understeer as you go in there, and then a little kick of oversteer as you're coming out as you're dropping down the traction control. But a huge circuit when you look at it from above. But obviously you're flat out for so much of it. So yeah, looking from above, amazing scenery. Really enjoyed flying around. So back in the car then, coming down to turn 1, we're going to be looking for that 150 yard board. It's just like a tiny millimetre past that board, almost the white line across the circuit. So much time gained coming through this corner, just clipping that inside curb. Just on the red and white stuff, it really is a tight line. Obviously you can see too much steering. I don't think you're going to get through there without a lot of steering, so it was very hard to negate that comment that kept coming up. Looking to the board on the right hand side then, just past this like yellow or orange marker on the side of the Hardco barrier, trying to clip that inside curb. You can see if you can hold second gear, but I think dropping down to first is much better through the chicane. A little bit of brake, you're just turning the corner using the brake pedal here and then getting on the power as soon as you can. Sometimes drop the traction control to 1 and then back to 8, and then again, as you can see on the exit, dropping it down to TC1. Very hard corners, the Lesmos, to get right, really are. Obviously you can see a 149.8. I'd be happy with a 148 at this circuit, but definitely struggling to hit that in the Porsche. I can remember being here not so long ago in the AMG 2020 car, and 148s were just seemed run of the mill, but here in the Porsche, even getting into a low 149 is pretty tricky if you ask me. It's seems like such a slow car along the straights. I think I was up to nearly 280 kilometers in the AMG, but nowhere near that. I think maybe 270 in the Porsche. So just coming across the line for a 149.5, a pretty disappointing lap, I've got to be honest. But there you go. Quickly look over the setup then. Obviously you can see the timetable not hitting every perfect set to time. A few tenths here and there I think. But kind of disappointing to be honest. But whether it's a bit more stable than the aggressive setup, please do let me know. But yeah, traction control 8 again. Don't be worried about using these high traction controls. And if you see there, just using brake discs 2 in this car, just one seemed just a little bit too aggressive. Sometimes using 1 or 2, but obviously as little rear wing as we dare get away with. But thanks for watching. Anyway, thanks for watching and ciao for now. Yeah, I think you said it all. But yeah, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, ciao for now.